Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the next installment of the Divide and Conquer version 5 faction overviews. This week we are playing as the Southrons of Harad. So, what are the strengths and weaknesses of Harad, you might ask? Well, as for faction strengths, Harad has a very aggressive roster comprised of high attack spearmen, versatile troops from the various tribes, very powerful cavalry options and other mounts, including the very powerful Mumakil. As for weaknesses of the faction, you do lack armor across most of your units, outside of a few special cases, and you lack armor-piercing options. There are very few armor-piercing options that you have as Harad. Now, I think we're going to get through these next sections pretty quick in terms of starting settlements and starting generals, because for your starting settlements, you only have one, and that is the capital city of Finabel. Let's move this spy over. Finabel is nestled here on the Harnan River, which has been expanded, and I believe it was version 4.6 this was actually expanded on to make it into a full navigable river. So as for Finabel, it has potential to make a lot of money. It's in a very strong position and is a city already at turn 1. For unique buildings, it does have the Black Palace. This is a great starting capital building to have because it gives you global reduction to your building costs, and it gives you free upkeep here in Finabel. Outside of that, your settlement also has a meeting hall, barracks, an inn, land clearance, roads already developed, and a dark shrine. So it's a very decently developed starting settlement to have, but it is also your only one. Do note there are watchtowers scattered around, so you do have vision all over your starting domain. As for generals, we'll go through them relatively quickly here. Serpent Lord Kuzaima is your faction leader, and he does have a... Well, he doesn't specifically have a unique campaign model, but all faction leaders of Harad will have this model here. Serpent Lord Kuzaima just has the Black Snake Guard as his bodyguard, so nothing too unique there. But he does have some great retinues, being that he has the Mumuk Plate Armor, plus 3 hit points. Vivarium is good for trade and happiness, and the Southron Helmet for an extra hit point. He does have a special ability, which is the Serpent Elixir, which is pretty strong, 75% chance to stun, and gives your own army 150% combat effectiveness for a full minute, so it is quite powerful. Kuzaima is great both on the battlefield and as a governor, so use him however you like. Your faction heir over here to the west of Finabel is Warlord Musab, with a starting army of 2 Haradrim Spearmen and Haradrim Archers. He has the Black Snake Guard as well. He also comes with the Red Wrath special ability, so a different ability here. 3 uses that last for 45 seconds, temporary fatigue reduction, and 100% army combat effectiveness, but it will raise the overall fatigue when it is done casting there. So a good special ability. And sorry, there was a cut here. One of my friends showed up, rang the doorbell, and Jojo just went crazy, so I had to make a cut here. So we were talking about Warlord Musab, and I was about to talk about his Spear of Huinir. This is your faction hair item, so transfer this out to whoever you want to be your next line. And then, I guess, yeah, we'll go on to the next and last starting general, and that is Utba. Now, Utba does have the Red Wrath ability as well. He is the commander of your troops, and he has a unique bodyguard, being the Serpent Bladesman. So he has your armored infantry, and your only really armored infantry choice as Harad. So it gives you a little bit of diversity there. You're not just using the mounted default bodyguards, but that is an advantage of Harad, is that you have a mounted bodyguard. Those are generally quite limited in Divide and Conquer, but they are seen more often here in the south. So that is it for starting generals and starting provinces. As for a nearby rebel expansion, well, just looking at the map, you have a lot of it. You are surrounded by rebel territory, with Aman Aithel in the north, Esthala, Tal Ajaf to the south, on Karagmir, which is great to take because it has the Mumakil. To the east, Amrun, and farther you can get Kurandaj, Krukmahur, and if you manage to make it all the way over here, you can also potentially grab Sayakan, which can be quite wealthy. To the northwest, you have other provinces such as Gobel Mirland, though this has a very hefty starting garrison, so I typically leave that one for Dol Amroth, or for the Ardenaim to whittle that down. Tir Ithrid, Haud Hanur, and Imlad Karnan, though most likely Harad, or not Harad, but Khand, will probably make it over here. So, you can also decide if you want, you can also attack the Ardenaim in your west. You are neutral with them, though you do have an early alliance with the Variags of Khand. Though there is always the coin toss that Khand may or may not turn against you, depending on the blue wizard script. And also, as Harad, you are allied to Mordor, but, I mean, if you want to decide to overthrow the Dark Lord and be your own independent nation of men, you can go for that as well. You definitely have some options down here in the south, but the typical campaign would be to expand, grab all of the rebel territory you can, and then push into Dol Amroth and Gondor. Additionally, there is an argument to be made for taking the Numenorians out of Umbar, because if you take Umbar, you will have access to the tier 1 ship that the Ardenaim have, which is like the Balakaguza or something like that. It's something like that. It's not the black ships, but it's like better than the longboats. It's all you get as Harad are longboats. So for my recommendations for early game expansion, I'd say first of all, there are going to be rebel armies running around. Tahar to the north, this captain over here who has a small force of just Southron Lancers, 2 warband, and some archers. To the north, Asthala has a relatively small garrison, though it does have Horondor mercenaries, like 3 Southron archers, a few Southron warband, and then Amrun also has a powerful garrison with some more powerful units in it. So I would recommend, first of all, taking Warlord Musab and fighting out Captain Sapthan first. It would be a good idea to bring the Southron Lancers with him, and I like to bring the pikemen out because there are cavalry in this army, Southron Lancers, and a cavalry general with the Black Snake Guard here in Tal al-Jaf. So, first turns, I would take the Southron pikemen, Lancers, send them over to Musab, attack this rebel captain, and then on the second turn, prepare to besiege Tal al-Jaf. And if you just have this army with the pikemen and you take out the Lancers, they will sally out, I've noticed, and you don't really need the Lancers in the field battle against them. So that's another recommendation I would have. Just take out the Lancers, go fight at Tal al-Jaf, and with your starting army and the pikemen, and you should have that first settlement taken pretty early on. I also say go for Asthala second, though you will want additional forces in Upa's army. This is a relatively, this is a very low tier army led by Serpent Guardsmen. I would recommend getting a cavalry unit over here, so after your Lancers help fight this captain, send them over here to assist with Utbah, besiege Asthala, and they should sally out, and by using your Lancers effectively, you shouldn't have too much of a problem with that. And then from there, you can decide if you want to go north to Amon Ithel, or if you want to go east to Amrun. Amrun is kind of my preferred settlement. This is a large town. And once you have 4 regions, you will unlock the Muhad Beastmasters and the Muhad Tribesmen, giving you your javelins, and you'll get a starting, not a starting general, but you'll get a scripted general with Muhad Beastmasters, and I recommend using that army to help you take An-Karag Mir, because the javelins are very good at dealing with the Mumakil that are garrisoned here. And outside of that, really, you can just do what you want. Those are my preferred starting moves to make, which is Tal al-Jaf, Asthala, Amrun, and then take the Muhad units and go to take An-Karag Mir. And then from there, the world is your oyster. Do as you please. Now, to talk about scripts, I have loaded a campaign where I have taken the 15 regions needed to unlock all of your generals. So first, I will discuss the generals that you get. So they're all going to have a randomly generated name from the list of Haradrim names, so their names do not matter. Here is the one that you will get for taking 4 regions. You will get a general, no special abilities on him, but you will get a general. In this case, his name is Rion, and you get Muhad Beastmasters, a unit of Muhad Beastmasters as a secondary unit, and the Muhad Tribesmen. Once you take 8 regions, you will unlock the Trollmen. This gives you another general. In this case, I got Ubada. Ubada, in this case, he has the Trollmen Champions, which are a very powerful, very, very powerful Trollman unit. and you get 2 units of Trollman Hunters, along with unlocking the recruitment of those units. At 12 regions, you unlock the Hashari, giving you 2 units of Hashari Blades and Khaldun. I think Khaldun actually might always be his name, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like you always get Khaldun with him. And he comes with the Hashari Shadows. And finally, once you take the 15 regions, you will unlock a general here. This is Umara, and he comes with Mumakil. So quite powerful there. Getting a free unit of Mumakil is a very nice reward, and having a general unit that can basically replenish the Mumakil is great as well. Though if the general model himself ever dies, you do lose the whole unit, and there is always the possibility of that happening, though Mumakil are very hard to take down with their 14 hit points. You also get 2 units of Trollman Warriors with the upgrades, and a unit of Trollman Hunters. Additionally, unlocking those 15 regions will allow you to build the Mumakil Drill Square. Now, this is only available here in Finabel and only in Karagmir. So only in these settlements can you create that building. And can you get it in Siakan, or can you not? Let's check that. No, you can't get it over here. I think in a previous version you could all the way over here, but currently now it is only in these 2 regions for the Mumakil training, as they are very, very powerful. So now we'll talk about the barracks lines and the other buildings that Harad has. So you do unlock large cities by getting your 15 regions, so that is a requirement for that. For your stables, you have 3 tiers. The tier 1 stables will give you Southron Lancers and Camel Riders. The tier 2 stables will unlock the Muhad Beastmasters, Serpent Guard, and Serpent Archers. And the tier 3 actually doesn't give you anything new at the moment. I don't know if that's a bug or not. I think it used to be that the Serpent Guard were locked to the 3rd tier, but now they're currently in the 2nd tier. I could have sworn that was different before. But anyway, that's how it currently is in version 5, so there isn't really much of a reason to get to the Serpent Stables, it would seem. As for your barracks, at tier 1 you get Southron Warband, Southron Pikemen, and you get the 2 Trollman units once you've unlocked them. At the Guard Barracks, you add on the Muhad Tribesmen and the Hashari Blades. And at the Tier 3 Army Barracks, you then add the Trollmen Champions and the Serpent Bladesmen. For your ranges, these go to 2 tiers. At Tier 1, you get the Southron Archers, and Tier 2, you get the Hashari Shadows. And I should speak about it, your meeting hall is where your militia come from, being the Haradrim Spearmen and the Haradrim Archers. You do only get to Tier 3 Blacksmithing. There is no Tier 4 upgrade for Harad. You only have level 3. As for ports, you can go to Tier 2. You do have full access to the 3 levels of Sea Trade. And your marketplaces, you have all 5 levels there. For Harad's guilds, you can get the Merchants Guild and the Warriors Guild, which will just give you a morale bonus. And you also have the opportunity to get the Horse Breeders Guild, just helps you train the cavalry and gives you the unit of Muhad Beastmasters. That is pretty much it for Harad's buildings and their unique generals. So at this point, I will now transition over to the battle map. Here we are now on the battle map for Harad. So we'll start off with the General's Bodyguard, and these are the Black Snake Guard, who did get a facelift in version 5, so they are looking very snazzy, are they not? You have a 10 attack, 10 charge Lancer Cavalry with a bonus against mounts, with 22 total defense, with a good portion of that being armor and defense skill, but also a solid 5 shield value as well. They have a 9 attack secondary weapon, so after they charge in, they will switch to their swords. And overall, they are just a very nice bodyguard to have. They have a decent bodyguard size at 22. They aren't as powerful as, say, Rohan's bodyguards are in terms of the cavalry contingents, but they are very, very effective. Their only real limit being that they are a smaller unit size, but the fact that you get them for all your generals and they replenish, they are very useful, and they will be a very powerful asset for your armies. I mean, cavalry generals in Medieval 2 have always just been very powerful. Divide and Conquer strives to get away from that a little bit by limiting the availability of cavalry bodyguards and keep them only in nations where it really just makes sense for them to be the standard, such as Harad and Dolomroth and the Variag. So that is it for the Black Snake Guard, just a great and visually stunning looking unit there. So going into our infantry, at the tier 1 are the Haradrim Spearmen. Now these guys, though they are somewhat of a swarm unit and they look very light, and they actually have quite the powerful attack stat at 4. So 4 attack and defense. Skill trim good against mounts, all that good stuff there. Good movement speed bonus at 110% because they are so light. And a key thing about Harad and its kind of specialty is its high aggressive nature and its powerful attack spear unit. So while other nations might have militia spears with 2 attack and 6 defense, Harad ups that to 4 attack and 4 defense with a nice 6 charge bonus, which is very nice. So Harad has high charge spears and other high charge units. You'll see that with the spearmen, and I know I trash the skill trim a lot, and maybe I'm a little bit of a changed man, having done a little bit of a Harad campaign, and I decided to actually give skill trim more of a chance, and let's just say I agree with everyone saying that skill trim can be useful for like mitigating the surface area of the unit and fighting cavalry and stuff. And when they're surrounded, it can be nice to get a unit to kind of wrap around them and have better access at shooting into the flanks. So let's just say I've had a bit of a change of heart towards the skill trim formation. That is it for the Haradrim Spearmen. Very cheap, like 150 upkeep and recruitable anywhere from a meeting hall. Their direct upgrade here are the South Run Warband, and they have quite the higher stat bonus. 6 attack, the same 6 charge, but at 11 defense. So again, as you see in other nations, their tier 2 spearmen are typically like 4 attack and like 14 defense, 13 defense. Harad just ups the attack on them, giving you a bit more aggression with your spears. They aren't meant to hold for as long, but they are meant to be more damage oriented. These guys, being a little more armored than the Haradrim Spearmen, do move a little bit slower, but they still have that 105% movement bonus. They trade the skill trim for the shield wall ability, which I really like, and I'm also a big fan. I just want to say, I think their spears and their pull weapons, I think they look very good for, you know, given the state of the engine and everything, especially compared to the Haradrim Spearmen, who have very kind of rough spears. These look like they're probably made of bone or maybe like cheap metal, and then you get its actual like iron here with the South Run Warband. Next to them, we'll talk about the South Run Pikemen next. South Run Pikemen having 4 attack, 5 charge, and 7 defense, but just having a relatively available, I mean, they are available everywhere, and having a pikeman in your tier 1 barracks is quite nice to have. Low armor, that's something that you're going to see against most of the Haradrim faction. They only have 3 armor, so they are especially susceptible to arrow fire and other skirmishers, so keep them protected from those, as the arrows will fell them relatively quickly. But their slightly higher attack compared to other pikemen at the tier is noted at that 4 attack. Other pikemen typically have like 3 attack for a tier 2 pike unit, so that extra aggression is showing here as well. Now, next to the South Run Pikemen and the South Run Warband, I decided to include the Harandor Mercenaries, and I have talked about them in the Bree video because they were mercenaries, but it makes sense to also discuss them here as they are a important unit for Harad because they are your only really, I mean, they're one of your very few armor-piercing options, though they are only available typically as mercenaries. So Harandor Mercs, 7 attack, 5 charge, 15 total defense, being AP, so they are very, like, they are respectable shock infantry. Typically in the early tiers and mid tiers, you'll see, like, axemen with the same kind of attacks, but not necessarily so armed until later in the campaign. But these guys are a very solid upper middle tier axeman unit, and they are very useful against the heavy armor that you will be facing from both Dol Amroth and from Gondor. Also, if you decide to fight the Ardenayim, having their armor piercing helps a lot in melee, and they have, I mean, 7 armor is very nice to have. They have good defensive stats compared to your other troop options. I decided to bundle them here with the tier 1 spear, so they are a vital part of the Harad campaign, though they are expensive at like 300 and something upkeep compared to your other units, which only have like 200 or 150 at the spearmen. And here are the Trollmen Warriors. So these guys have 102 models per battalion, one of my favorite units. 12 attack, 6 charge, 14 defense. Only 2 of that being armor, so they are relatively susceptible to arrows if they are shot in the flank. But they do have a 4 shield value and 2 hit points, which keeps them fighting in combat for quite some time. They do have frightened nearby enemy infantry, so they are useful for the morale debuff that provides, and they are your kind of premier, I would say, mainline heavy infantry, although they're not heavy infantry because they have low armor, but they're very high attack, solid mainline units to have, and that 2 hit points really allows these guys to fight and survive a lot longer in combat than you might originally think. But 14 defense is still nothing to scoff at. These guys are melee champions. Just avoid missiles with them, and they can be susceptible to cavalry charges, especially those of lancers. So keep them protected from that, and the Trollman warriors will do very well in your campaigns. I definitely recommend recruiting these guys as often as you can for your armies, and they are great for assaulting settlements as well. Next to them, I've included the Hashari Blades. These are your assassin-type units, 15 attack, a 9 charge, which is very nice for infantry, and 14 defense. They are able to hide anywhere, which allows them to be used to flank or keep them protected from archers until they absolutely need to go into combat. They're also relatively fast there with the 110% movement speed, and they are probably best suited to either flanking or chasing down archers in melee combat. Keep them away from cavalry, of course, and just don't let them get shot at, but that is why they have the ambushing ability there. So Hashari Blades have some nice utility in your roster. And going into the last tier of the infantry, where we get to the actual heavy stuff. First of all, the available anywhere, the Serpent Bladesmen. These guys, 12 attack, 6 charge, so similar to that of the Trollman Warriors, but they come in at 21 total defense, with 8 of that being armor. So these guys, more or less, they are like Gondor Infantry, if Gondor Infantry just had a few more attack stats. That's how I would basically quote these guys. Though they only have 128 men per battalion, and Gondor Infantry, if I'm remembering correctly, they have 150. So a few less men, but higher attack stats there. Serpent Bladesmen do require the tier 3 barracks, but they are your only really... I mean, they're one of 2 armored infantry options that you have, but they share the same armor stat, more or less, as the Arondor Mercenaries. A good unit to have, though. You probably won't be fielding too many of them until you get into the late game. I mean, there's not a whole lot I feel like I could say about these guys. They're your best armored infantry alongside our next unit, which is a little more interesting, I think, although on one last note, I do think the Serpent Bladesmen they look amazing. I love the visuals that they have going on here. But another unit I really like, the Trollmen Champions, an 89 unit model, 13 attack, 1 more than the Trollman Warriors with 19 defense. They actually have some armor now at 7 with 12 defense skill. The same 2 hit points, but they are skilled against mount, good against armor, and of course frightened nearby enemy infantry. These guys have locked morale, so they will fight to the death, and these guys are absolute butchers on the battlefield. It doesn't matter what they're fighting, they will slay it. They don't necessarily have any particular weakness other than, I would say, just high volume of fire from missiles, being rear charged, but nothing can really take a rear charge. And armor-piercing javelins are a threat to these guys, so you're not going to encounter too much of that in your campaigns down in the south of Middle-earth. Just a great unit. You will get 1 general for these guys, and they are just absolute powerhouses. I love them. Going into our archers, at the tier 1, we have the Haradrim Archers, available at the meeting hall. 3 melee attack, 3 missile, and 2 defense, so very squishy on the defense. Low range, low accuracy, and only 18 missiles, but still, they are cheap, they are numerous, and having just archers in general is just nice to have. The Haradrim Archers will probably form a bulk of your early game armies, and maybe even potentially into the mid or late game, just because they are quite easily spammed and sent into the front lines. Behind them, an arguably much better archer unit, the Southron Archers, though you do pay for the additional arms and armor that they are equipped with. 5 melee attack, 4 missile, this time with 24 missiles, 170 meter range, and average accuracy with 5 total defense. So still very, very squishy, but significantly better at the job of archery than the Haradrim Archers. It's worth it to get these guys when and if you can over the Haradrim Archers. Next to them, I decided to lump the Muhad Tribesmen, though really they're a bit stronger than the Southron Archers, so there's an argument for them to be made kind of in this back tier here. So Muhad Tribesmen, these are one of your few armor-piercing units, both in terms of their missile, and they have an armor-piercing melee attack, so they are specialists in that role. Where did you Where do you keep finding these hairbands? My dog has been finding hairbands all over the house, and he starts chewing them up. I don't know where he gets them, and he is just being mean by doing that. He's just tearing these things up. Anyway, back to the Muhad tribesmen. They have 3 javelins, bonus against mounts with those, and armor piercing, so they are just good units to have. 13 defense, though only 2 armor and only a 3 shield value. And being that they have such a high javelin attack, that does make them a priority target for the AI to shoot at them. So keep that in mind, they will probably be taking a lot of the incoming arrow fire. But I also really love that the design work that's gone into the Muhad tribesmen as well. I just think that it's such a unique culture with Harad, and I really like what what we've seen in the films and what Divide and Conquer and the other Third Age Total War mods have done. So, going into our last line for the skirmishers, we'll talk about the Trollman Hunters. First, like the Trollman Warriors, these guys have similar stats, 2 hit points, 12 defense there, only 10 melee attack, so they lose some of that, but they do have a bonus against mounts, as they have these javelins, and I'm like 90% sure, yeah, they have spears as well. So these are your Spear Trollman Warriors, a great unit to have supplementing your front line of Trollman Warriors. Just having these guys just right behind, or also in the front line, they do well in that role, softening the enemy up with the javelins before engaging in melee combat, and they are quite durable as long as they get to fight head-on with the enemy. So Trollman, just a great unit type for Harad. Then we go into the Hashari Shadows. These are Harad's predominant archer, or I guess not archer, but ranger unit. 9 melee, 7 missile attack, and 12 defense. They have poison arrows, giving them the morale debuffing effect when they shoot something. They have 24 missiles, 170 meter range, and very high accuracy. So the Hashari Shadows are arguably, I would say, more useful than the regular Hashari. Being able to hide anywhere and having poison is just so nice for causing morale shocks to your enemies and making them flee in terror. So that's what I'll say about the Hashari Shadows. Just remember, you need 12 settlements to unlock the Hashari, 8 for the Trollman Warriors, and 4 for the Muhad. Finally, going into our cavalry, where Harad also has quite the diverse roster, many choices here, and they are all relatively powerful. First off, the South Ron Lancers. These are 6 attack, 8 charge, with 7 defense. So squishy Lancers here, low defense, but a very good charge bonus with a secondary attack of 5 after they charge in. You get 81 soldiers per battalion, so this is a very high model count cavalry unit, which is very effective. Though they are pretty much glass cannon lancers, they will do a lot of damage on the charge. Their weaknesses being cavalry skirmishers, they don't do well being shot at. Of course, don't let them fight spearmen. If they hit spearmen at all, their defenses will mean that they fall very, very fast. But they have lots of utility, and they are just honestly a very solid light cavalry choice. Just in general for Divide and Conquer, they are a great cavalry choice to have. Next to them are the Camel Riders, also available at the Tier 1 Spears. These guys are a bit more bulkier on the defensive side than the South Ron Lancers. So arguably, I might suggest that the Camel Riders actually adopt these looks, as they are of the Haradrim, like the Haradrim tier look, but they are more armored, so it's a little misleading there. 6 attack, 6 charge, and 13 defense. They have a unique bonus against Emeraldian Swan Cavalry and horses in general. And being that they are camels, they also scare horses as well. So they function like wargs, and I have a personal soft spot for camel cavalry, or as I like to say, camelry. So I like the camels. I hope you guys like the camels also. Behind them are the Muhad Beastmasters, your mounted skirmishers. Again, armor-piercing melee attack and missile with them. 10 missile attack, 7 melee, 13 total defense. Still relatively squishy. But given that they have armor-piercing attacks and 5 javelins, they are very nice. They're your best tool for skirmishing against enemy-heavy cavalry, such as Emeraldian Swan Knights or Gondor Cavalry, or if you ever should fight them, the Mumakil. The Muhad Beastmasters are a direct counter to the Mumakil, so a good unit to have. And behind them, we go into our Serpent Guard and our Serpent Archers. So the Serpent Archers being the mounted horse archers, 14 defense, 8 melee attack with a 7 missile, 30 missiles, high accuracy, but low range, being that they are horse archers at only 130 meters as they use a short bow. These guys are great. They have the circle and shoot ability, and they come in the circular formation here, which helps them to resist against enemy archer fire. So a great unit to have. Not too great at charging, though. The 6 charge is still usable once they run out of ammo, or if you just need to chase enemy troops down. Try to spend your ammo with them first before dedicating them to melee, because you have a better dedicated melee unit right next to them, and these are the Serpent Guard. So these are like the Black Snake Guard Light, but you do get a full battalion of 61. 10 attack, 11 charge with 18 defense. They also inspire your nearby troops, so they'll keep the levies fighting for longer in the battle. Secondary attack of 8, the Serpent Guard are more or less just a direct upgrade to the South Run Lancers. Relatively, like, they have high armor, but they're not crazy heavily armored, and they're not going to, like, do amazing against, like, they'll fight well up against Gondor and Dol Amroth's cavalry, though do keep in mind, Dol Amroth does have cavalry that outclass the Serpent Guard, so they are usable in those roles, though you'll typically want to have some spearmen nearby to help you fight against enemy cavalry as Harad, unless you really use your camels wisely, or swarm your enemy with cavalry, as you can do that with Harad. In a way, you're kind of like an evil Rohan almost. So, I mean, arguably Khan is more so that than Harad, but you do have that with Harad as well. You do have a lot of cavalry options. Now, finally, we'll go into the most important unit for Harad, the biggest, the baddest, the strongest, and these are the Mumakil, the war elephants themselves. You have to love them. These guys are absolute powerhouses. 75 archers right atop of these elephants, and they are just phenomenal units. Very expensive, and arguably they could probably use a texture improvement. The developer for Third Age Total War version 4 actually has some updated models for the Mumakil, and I would love to have shared access to that, but I've never reached out or anything. But I think that would be cool. They do look arguably a little better than Divide and Conquerors. They are probably in need of a touch-up. But the Mumakil, 60 melee attack, 6 missile attack with 20 charge and 38 defense, 18 of that being armor. They're tough hide, 20 defense skill, and 14 hit points. They inspire your troops, and they are constantly shooting, even in melee combat. Excellent morale. Movement speed says 70%, but they are still quite fast on the battlefield. They are huge beasts, and being that they are elephants, they have a huge area of effect attack where these guys can basically destroy most of a battalion in one attack. It doesn't really matter what's fighting them. Anything that they swing at is going to die, unless it's like Sauron's bodyguard or another just crazy unit like that. Trolls can take a few hits before going down, but any other infantry is just going to get completely destroyed in one hit by the Mumakil. Now, being that they are elephants and have huge hitboxes, that does lead into their weaknesses, which are artillery, such as ballista. Catapults can get a lucky shot on them. All sorts of javelins will basically destroy Mumakil very, very quickly. Javelins have a huge anti-elephant bonus, so the Mumakil will die typically in one volley to javelin fire. And even just mass archer fire can whittle down the hit points of the Mumakil because they have such huge hurt boxes. And in prolonged melee combat against pikemen or other strong spearmen, they can be taken down as well, though they're going to kill lots of infantry. The Mumakil are just crazy powerful. So I will now host a battle here against the next faction that we will go up against, being that, well, if you know the alphabet, I think you probably know who is next. You might be able to tell already. We see a lot of silver going on over here across the battlefield, and it is the High Elves. So brought the Noldor up against us in battle today. How often do you actually get to see the High Elves fight against Harad? You don't often ever get to see that, really, and I'm wondering if I should just do full control on my army. I probably should, so it's always weird because I don't really deploy the way I want to deploy, and that we're already getting shot up, so we need to rush, don't we? Let's get you guys up here. I don't even care how well I use them. Cavalry, get over here, please. I wish my AI commander would actually do something for us. That would be great. Bring in these, looks like the Trollman Hunters are taking the initial shots from the cavalry, or from the High Elves, which is good. We're probably going to take a charge here from the Elder Renway Roquin, but we are going to get a javelin volley off. Let us bring the cavalry in now. Let's see here. How many horse archers do we have? We have you guys. Bring in you guys. I'd love to get some more cinematic shots. Alright, let's just put you guys in AI command, because I am not doing so hot right now and I don't actually get full access to my units. Here come the Mumakil and the cavalry, the Golden Horde in the east. Well, I guess that's actually the Easterlings, not so much the Haradrim, but look at that, the Lindar guards already routing. Let's have them charge into the Noldor veterans next. Come on, Mumakil. Here they are, and watch as these High Elves just get destroyed by the Tusk attacks. There goes a huge blob of the Noldor veterans. They did not stand much of a chance. Bring in the rest of the cavalry, and I mean, maybe the Mumakil are too powerful for the High Elves to actually deal with here. They might not actually have anything to properly defeat these Mumakil, but we'll see. We are getting shot a little bit, and the Spearmen are engaging. Servant Guard charging in to the Noldor veterans. Not the best charge. These are very elite and heavy spears. Oh, there goes a few of the Mumakil already, so they're not all invincible. And once if they start to get taken down a little bit more, they may even begin to run amok, which would not be good. See if we can get a few, maybe one more charge into these Noldor veterans. We might lose all the Mumakil, but they did do some very good damage. Watch the Elder Renway Roquin. Looks like they're going to charge into our Haradrim spears. Actually, a lot of my force is dying at the moment, which makes sense. Maybe the High Elves weren't as powerful as I was trying to give them credit for. Get these Beastmasters around here to flank around. Who is left here? It is our general. We forgot our general. Servant Guard charging into the back of the Sindar archers, and we are down to only a few Mumakil. Only 2 remaining. Can we get as many kills as we can against these Noldor veterans and Amanyar Swordmasters? Running through the lines, they do not care. Oh, there goes another Mumakil. Hopefully this last one can get a few more kills. Camels are stuck in engaged, prolonged combat with Noldor defenders. Not a place they particularly want to be. Where are the Trollmen champions? They are fighting in pitched combat here against the Lindar guards. They shouldn't have too much of an issue with that. Camel riders keep on moving around here. Looks like we are skirmishing with the Amanyar Swordmasters over here. Let's charge into them. We have lost half of our force, but we have killed half of the force of our enemy. And our last Mumakil has unfortunately gone down. That is testament to the power of the High Elves here. We'll charge into these Noldor veterans. Very, very powerful units indeed. They do not appreciate getting charged like that at all now, do they? Now, how many javelins do we actually have left? We have 15 left in this unit while they got absolutely destroyed. We'll throw a few javelins into Gil-galad's company. Hopefully we can get a few kills there. The armor piercing doing wonders for us. If anyone engaged in combat, ooh, these lancers are not doing so hot. We might not actually win this battle. We might be screwed. The Eldar Renway Roquin are very, very powerful, and this might be a loss for us. We'll see. I'll turn it into Gil-galad's company and start bringing the other Serpent Archers around. Can we get a kill here charging into the back of them? Looks like we can, though a few of the camels are going to die on charge as well. That is something I've noticed with the camels. They're a little bit awkward. Sometimes they will fall on the charge. Trollman champion still anchoring our line up against these Lindar guards. Southron archers, let's have you guys stop and fight here. Have you guys also shoot these. Ooh, our Black Snake Guard did not do well over here at all. Do we have any spears at all I can bring over here? Trollman Hunters, these might be my only real option. We are losing a lot of our cavalry. Try to get one more charge into the Trollman Hunters if we can. Serpent Guard, head over here. The Elder Renway Roquin showing their might and their mettle. Trollmen warriors, though, they are holding the line up against the Noldor veterans and the Lindar guards. They shouldn't have too much of a problem fighting them off. Here comes another charge from the Elder Renway Roquin as they run down our Southron archers. Those poor Southron archers, they have not had a great time now, have they? Pull these guys out. Muhad Beastmaster is going to charge into the back of the guards. If we can just get rid of this light infantry, that would help us out a lot here. They are wavering. Come on, can we route them off? That would help us a lot. I think we might just lose this battle, which is unfortunate. But we do finally have our spears over here. Roman champions are getting surrounded. Oh, they have Mythalon nobles. No wonder. Well, that explains some of the damage we're taking here. Get one more charge here into these guys. Hold back the Noldor veterans. Come on, Beastmasters, take down the Lindar guards. A good charge coming in, but some of the camels are dying on charge there, which is a little bit unfortunate. Bring in the archers. We really only have our archers left at the moment to fight back the tide here. Those Mythalon nobles absolutely just destroying the Trollmen champions. I mean, that is to be expected. Maybe for the first time I have pitched a battle that I actually cannot win. I did not use the Mumakil as effectively as I probably could have, but it does show they are not entirely invincible. They can and they may fall in combat. But we'll give it our best here, 85%. We might be able to beat off these Haradrim or these Eldarinwe Roquin in melee here. There are 17 of them left. Our Trollman champions down to only 6. They fought valiantly, but it was not enough. We'll try to get one charge on these Mythalon nobles from behind. The Serpent Archers, of course, not being the best unit to have. I didn't really use my Lancers effectively. But still, a decent rear charge on the Mythalon nobles will claim a few lives of the elves here. And that's about all we can really hope for at the end of the day. Looks like the Eldarinwe Roquin are going to probably beat our Haradrim Spearmen. I mean, these are still Malicious Spear at the end of the day. Hoping that 4 attack will allow them to beat a few more units. Another rear charge into the Noldor defenders who have kept the High Elves in this battle for quite some time. And yeah, I think this battle is lost at this time. If I had perhaps normally deployed my force and didn't just leave it to the AI, maybe we would have done a little bit better there. But I was in such a weird formation. We have lost our general, unfortunately. Serpent Archer is going to do one more charge, but I think we're about to hit the end of the battle as the Mythalon nobles charge into the Serpent Archers. That is it for the battle. The carcasses of the Mumakil. And, wow. Sorry guys, I didn't win this one, but I gave the High Elves a very powerful army, and it makes sense that they would be quite strong. Also, the High Elves had almost all of their good units, all of the Noldor Archers, Gilgalad's company, Noldor Defenders. I gave them all of the strong stuff. So that will do it for today's episode. So until next week, my friends, as my wife gets home and the dog goes crazy, farewell.